welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today we are diving back into Twilight. This is chapter 13, which is called Confessions. So if you want to go read it before this episode, now is your chance.
Yep. Just a reminder, you can find us on all of our social medias, which are TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram. The handle for all four is at Chaos Chronicles Podcast, and that's Chronicles with an S. We would really appreciate a like, subscribe, and follow.
Yes.
All right.
Well, Connie's going to jump into a very, very, very quick summary of chapter 12, so you guys know where we're at if you're not currently reading the book.
So, summary of chapter 12. We're going to go real quick on this one. Essentially, Edward and Bella are finally having their date day. And so Bella, in anticipation of that, has told people that she is either staying home, going somewhere else. She's basically created alibis for Edward. So if the worst case scenario happens, no one's going to look at Edward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Edward's like, bitch, what?
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? So they go to, Edward's favorite place up in the mountain, up in the woods, alone, and they hike for a bit, and they come up to this clearing, and Bella steps out, and it's beautiful, and she turns around, and Edward's about to step into the sun, and this has been what she's been waiting for, because he said, maybe I'll show you one day why we don't go in the sun.
Yeah, and so that is where chapter 13 starts. All right, so chapter 13, before I start, I do want to say this chapter was a lot of Edward monologues, so I do have quite a few quotes in here, just because I tried to paraphrase, I tried to summarize, and it just missed out on a lot of details. And so there are a lot of quotes in here, but we'll just get into it. I do start off with a quote here. So, quote, Edward in the sunlight was shocking. I couldn't get used to it, though I'd been staring at him all afternoon, end quote. Edward's skin was white and sparkled as if there were thousands of tiny diamonds embedded on his skin. Edward was laying in the grass, perfectly still with his eyes closed, but he didn't sleep. It was like he was a statue carved in smooth marble stone that glittered like a crystal. Every once in a while, his lips would move so fast that it looked like they were trembling, but Edward tells her that he was singing to himself, but too low for her to hear. Bella was enjoying the sun. She would have liked to lie down like Edward and have the sun on her face, but she stayed curled up with her chin resting on her knees because she wasn't able to take her eyes off of him. Granted, though, if there was a dude in the sun glistening...
Okay, yeah, I probably had the same reaction. A dude that I knew in this context, then I'd be staring. If it was any other situation, I'd be like, oh, scheitze. I gotta look up the Lord's Prayer real quick. Let's get some holy water.
Away.
Like, I don't think this is a goth. I think this is a problem.
So there was a gentle wind that tangled her hair and ruffled the grass. The meadow was so spectacular to Bella at first, but paled in comparison to Edward's magnificence. Bella was afraid that he would disappear. He was too beautiful to be real. She reached out one finger and stroked the back of his shimmering hand. His eyes are open now, and they are butterscotch today, much lighter and warmer after hunting. He gives her a smile and asks if he scares her. Bella can hear the playfulness in his voice, but knew that there was real curiosity behind it. Edward smiles wide when Bella says, quote, no more than usual, end quote. Bella moves closer to him and starts tracing the contours of his forearms with her fingertips and asks if he minds. Edward says no, and she couldn't imagine how it feels. They're lying in silence for a while, and Edward asks what she's thinking. It is so strange for him to not know. Bella hesitates and says that she was wishing she could know what he was thinking and that she couldn't believe he was real and was also wishing that she wasn't afraid. Edward says that he doesn't want her to be afraid. Bella clarifies that that's not the fear she meant, but that is something to think about. He asks what she meant, but Bella couldn't answer him. Quote, as I had just once before, I smelled his cool breath on my face. Sweet, delicious, the scent made my mouth water. It was unlike anything else. Instinctively, unthinkingly, I leaned closer, inhaling. End
Why?
quote.
Why? Why?
I had
¿Por
to,
qué?
that quote was specifically for Connie. Was it necessary? No, but I had to read it. Therefore, I
I
need.
had to stop. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember when we did the quick preview of this chapter trying to figure out how to do it because it's just so many quotes and you don't want to get copyrighted. I do remember starting to read that, remembering it and going absolutely the not and skipping over it. I don't do breath like that though.
never, ever has the smell of someone's breath made my mouth water.
Ugh. No. No, no. Stephanie Myers, sweetie, Steffi, honey, let's talk. What was that? No, no, no,
No.
no.
So, moving on from that, Edward was suddenly gone and he was 20 feet away on the edge of the meadow. Bella whispers to him, knowing that he can hear her, and she says that she is sorry. Edward yells at her to give him a moment, and he slowly begins to walk back, stopping several feet away and says he's very sorry, and would she understand what he meant if he said that he was only human?
Okay, that's kind of funny.
I know. Bella nodded once, but not able to smile at his joke. Adrenaline rushed through her, and she slowly realized that she was in danger. He could still smell her. His smile turned mocking. And quote from Eddie Boy here. Quote, I'm the world's best predator, aren't I? Everything about me invites you in. My voice, my face, even my smell, as if I need any of that. He runs around the meadow in a second and bitterly laughs, saying, as if you could outrun me. He effortlessly rips a 2-foot thick branch from the trunk of a spruce tree, balances it in his hand, and then throws it at a blinding speed. It shatters against another tree, and he gently says, as if you could fight me off. His lovely eyes seem to glow with rash excitement. Then, as the seconds passed, they dimmed, his expression slowly folding into a mask of ancient sadness. Don't be afraid, he murmured, his velvet voice unintentionally seductive. I promise, he hesitated. I swear not to hurt you. He seemed more concerned with convincing himself than me. Don't be afraid, he whispers again as he steps closer with exaggerated slowness. He sat
Sinisterly? Sincerely?
Sinuously. Sinisterly.
Sinuously?
Sinuously. Thank you.
Stephanie? What? Sinuous? No, okay.
Unnecessary.
Not the adjective, adverb I'd use there, but okay.
Yeah, so that with deliberately unhurried movements till our faces were on the same level, just a foot apart. Please forgive me, he said formally. I can control myself. You caught me off guard, but I'm on my best behavior now. He waited, but I still couldn't speak. I'm not thirsty today. Honestly, he winked. End quote.
Okay. We. Well, ah! Okay. Several things to unpack, but like
So much.
real quick, I'm gonna just like pick apart a sentence he said.
Yeah.
You caught me off guard. Yes, a little, but also that's kind of like that's a little bit of a blamey sentence. You could instead say, I was caught off guard.
Yeah.
But unless he was doing it kind of as like a chiding Bella to like warn her, then you can say you. But also this entire scene, everything about it, so much angst.
Uh-huh. Like he's doing all this to like, you can't outrun me. I'm so much stronger than you. I don't need to reel you in because even if I didn't have that, you still wouldn't stand a chance.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, yep.
And then I'm not thirsty today, honestly.
Again, it's with the winking.
Yeah.
I remember this scene from Midnight Sun. And I do remember the part that I actually thought was like, oh, that's kind of nice. You don't really get that part in Twilight. Is after he threw the branch at the tree, he immediately regretted it because he's like, oh, that was a really nice tree. Now the tree is going to be damaged. I'll have to make a mental note to come back and check it later. And he does check it later and he's upset about his actions. So I'm like, okay, remorse. But this is also like punching a hole in the wall and then feeling bad later.
No
Like,
remorse in this book, though.
work your anger through. Do not do physical threats of violence. Even if it's not specifically directed at a person, it is still an act of violence.
Mm-hmm.
See our toxic episode.
Yeah. We dive into that in that episode.
Yeah, I'm just also sorry to anyone listening on headphones. The fact that our volume is just going from like, oh yeah, we're talking, we're casual to God damn it, Edward. It is very loud. I'm sorry. But we're valid in our reactions here.
Yeah. Yes, we are. So Bella shakingly laughs, and Edward asks if she's okay. She didn't say anything, but gives him a timid smile. Edward then asks what they were talking about before he behaved so rudely. Bella can't remember. Edward says he believes that they were talking about why she was scared of him for other reasons than the obvious.
Bitch. Okay. Okay. Okay.
You good over there?
I forgot how much I don't like Edward in this.
He's awful.
He's really not good in this chapter. I think because last time when I was scanning through the chapter, I wasn't like reading.
No, yeah.
I was just like going through it. Now that I'm actually like hearing it, I'm like, ha 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 ha. No.
Yeah. Like I said in one of our previous episodes, might have been chapter 9, I have to take Edward per chapter. To get myself through this book. With this book, you have to take Edward chapter by chapter because he is so toxic.
So flippity floppity too.
Yeah. So hot and cold,
I know. And I think that's what's driving me nuts in this chapter too, is just the extreme juxtaposition from one second to the next. And I'm like, I understand that this is a pivotal chapter. He is playing with the self-control, and I do like this chapter from Midnight Sun because you get more of his internal what's going on and like his reaction to hearing like Bella's heartbeat and her breathing change. So like it's a little more interesting, but not excusing behavior.
yeah, this is really not good. And yeah, so taking Edward chapter by chapter, this is not one of his best chapters.
But shockingly enough, it's one of his most honest.
Yeah. All right, so getting back in here. Bella tells Edward that she is afraid because of the obvious reason that she can't stay with him, and she's afraid she wants to stay with him more than she should. Edward agrees that it is something to be afraid of. It's really not in her best interest, and he should have left a long time ago and should leave now, but he doesn't know if he can. Bella mumbles that she doesn't want him to leave. Edward responds that's why he should leave. But not to worry. He's a selfish creature that craves her company too much to do what he should do. He literally said that to her. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And as soon as you said that, I pictured that line being said by insert any high school boy or older guy trying to hit on a slightly younger or much younger girl
Yeah.
with the fedora and the I'm a nice guy.
I'm a nice guy.
That's exactly how that was feeling.
I could see that. I
Yes.
can see that.
Yeah. And for anyone who's like, oh my God, they're making fun of a guy being vulnerable with his feelings, that is not what we are doing here.
Not the real nice guys. We're not talking about the actual nice guys. We're talking about the guys that say that they are nice guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And they expect as a reward, women should want them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And also this is not really a healthy communication of feelings. This is I am going to force my feelings as a burden onto you.
Yeah.
That's not communicating your feelings. That's throwing a temper tantrum.
Correct. So Bella says she's glad in a harsh tone. Edward says, don't be. Yeah. It's not just her company that he craves. She can't forget that. He's more dangerous to her than anyone else. Bella is confused by this. Edward is trying to figure out how he can tell her without frightening her again. He places his hand in hers and said that people enjoy different flavors, like flavor ice creams. Quote, you see, every person smells different, has a different essence. If you locked an alcoholic in a room full of stale beer, he'll gladly drink it. But he could resist if he wished to, if he were a recovering alcoholic. Now, let's say you placed in that room a glass of 100-year-old brandy, the rarest and finest, and filled the room with its warm aroma. How do you think he would fare then? End quote.
I do remember this, and I do remember reading this for the first time and being like, is he calling her a flavor?
Mm-hmm. He is calling her a flavor. His
Don't
flavor. So Edward admits that that might not be the right comparison, and maybe he should have compared her to heroin instead, and that she is his exact brand of heroin.
Oh,
Heroin.
God help me. I just remembered that line, the you're my brand of heroin. That became a caption on so many horribly over edited pictures of like middle school couples.
Ugh. So Bella asks if this is something that occurs often. And Edward had talked to his brothers about this. Jasper thinks that most people are pretty much the same, but he is the most recent into the family, and it's hard for him to abstain at all. Emmett has been around longer and understood what Edward was talking about, and it had occurred twice for him. Edward also admits that this has never happened to him before. Bella asks what Emmett did, but Edward's face grew dark and his hands formed fists and he looked away. Bella took the hint. Yeah. Edward looks back at her and says, even the strongest fall off the wagon. Then, in a sharp tone, Bella responds, if he is asking her permission. She tries to make her tone kinder and then continues, quote, I mean, is there no hope then? How calmly could I discuss my own death? End quote.
I do remember that section reading it the first time, and I remember a little bit of that conversation from Midnight Sun, but I do remember feeling like super proud of Bella for the whole are you asking for my permission, because like the way Edward leads up to it,
Yeah.
it almost does seem like he is either
About
intentionally or unintentionally like, well, it might happen.
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Can I steal a little bite from the kitchen? Like, no, this ain't a birthday cake.
Well, Edward insists that of course there is hope, And of course he won't. It's different for them. It happened with strangers for Emmett, and it was a long time ago. He wasn't as practiced or as careful as he is now. Bella gathered her thoughts and then asked if they met in a dark alley or something. Edward responds, quote, "It took everything I had to not jump up in the middle of that class full of children and—" He stopped abruptly, looking away. "When you walked past me, I could have ruined everything Carlisle had built for us, right then and there. If I hadn't been denying my thirst for the last, well, too many years, I wouldn't have been able to stop myself. You must have thought I was possessed." End quote. Bella says she couldn't understand how and why he hated her so quickly. To Edward, quote, "It was like you were some kind of demon, summoned straight from my own personal hell to ruin me. The fragrance coming off your skin, I thought it would make me deranged that first day. In that 1 hour, I thought of 100 different ways to lure you from the room with me, to get you alone, and I fought each of them back. Thinking of my family, what I could do to them, I had to run out to get away before I could speak the words that would make you follow." He continues, "You would have come." End quote.
I do remember that, and I do remember he talks more about that in Midnight Sun.
I'm sure.
But one of the things that got me there
Mhm.
is notice he says, "in that room full of children that are Bella's age."
I didn't even notice that.
He's calling them children. Bella, ergo,
Is a child to him.
child.
Hmm. That just makes
Mm-hmm.
it more icky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Bella, speaking calmly, says, "Without a doubt." Edward continues, quote, "And then, as I tried to rearrange my schedule in a pointless attempt to avoid you, you were there, in that close, warm little room. The scent was maddening. I so very nearly took you then. There was only one other frail human there, so easily dealt with. But I resisted. I don't know how. I forced myself not to wait for you, not to follow you from the school. It was easier outside when I couldn't smell you anymore, to think clearly, to make the right decision. I left the others near home. I was too ashamed to tell them how weak I was. They only knew something was very wrong. And then I went straight to Carlisle at the hospital to tell him that I was leaving. I traded cars with him. He had a full tank of gas, and I didn't want to stop. I didn't dare to go home to face Esme. She wouldn't have let me go without a scene. She would have tried to convince me that it wasn't necessary. By the next morning, I was in Alaska. I spent 2 days there with some old acquaintances, but I was homesick. I hated knowing I'd upset Esme and the rest of them, my adopted family. In the pure air of the mountains, it was hard to believe that you were so irresistible. I convinced myself it was weak to run away. I dealt with temptation before, not of this magnitude, not even close, but I was strong. Who were you, an insignificant little girl, to chase me from the place I wanted to be? So I came back. There you go. There's again proof. She's a little girl. Anywho, continuing. And this is what I mean by Edward monologues. I took precautions, hunting, feeding more than usual before seeing you again. I was sure that I was strong enough to treat you like any other human. I was arrogant about it. It was unquestionably a complication that I couldn't simply read your thoughts to know what your reaction was. I wasn't used to having to go to such circuitous measures, listening to your words in Jessica's mind. Oh boy.
Eavesdropping little nosy.
Uh-huh. Her sorry, this part. Her mind isn't very original. It was annoying to have to stoop to that. And then
Rude.
I know.
She's a 17-year-old girl.
What do you expect?
I'm sorry she's not Play-Doh. My God.
Yeah. And then I couldn't really know if you really meant what you said. It was all extremely irritating. I wanted you to forget my behavior that first day if possible, so I tried to talk to you like I would any other person. I was eager, actually, hoping to decipher some of your thoughts, but you were too interesting. I found myself caught up in your expressions, and every now and then you would stir the air with your hands or your hair, and the scent, the scent would stun me again.
Which was stun.
I,
I, I, I, Edward, honey, you explaining, but it's not excusing.
no, those was a couple rough chapters for, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I get the whole like, nope, I'm not gonna run away from my family, and I understand being mad at somebody for that misplaced anger.
Yeah.
You're still a giant dick and recognize it's a you problem, not a her problem.
Mm-hmm. So continuing Edward's monologue here. Of course, then you were nearly crushed to death in front of my eyes. Later, I thought of a perfectly good excuse for why I acted at that moment. Because if I hadn't saved you, if your blood had been spilled there in front of me, I don't think I could have stopped myself from exposing us for what we are. But I only thought of that excuse later. At that time, all I could think was not her. End quote. That was one of his monologues.
Okay, there's a sweetness in the not her, but
No, there's not. I can't get behind this, guys. I'm sorry if I'm disappointing you. I can't get behind this.
no, I'm recognizing that I gave Edward a lot more grace than I should have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You didn't kill her, gold star, but that's also kind of the default for human interaction.
Don't kill others.
Yeah, that's kind of a big one.
Yeah. So Bella finally finds her voice and asks about in the hospital.
Mm.
So Edward looks back at Bella and continues. We're going back into it, guys. I'm sorry. Quote, I was appalled. I couldn't believe I had put us in danger after all. Put myself in your power, you of all people. As if I needed motive to kill you. But it had the opposite effect. I fought with Rosalie, Emmett, and Jasper when they suggested that now was the time. The worst fight we've ever had. Carlisle sided with me and Alice. Esme told me to do whatever I had to do in order to stay.
I forgot that Emmett, Jasper, and Rosalie have been like, well, you can just kill her. I forgot about that.
Like, just do it. Doesn't matter now. All that next day, I eavesdropped on the minds of everyone you spoke to, shocked that you kept your word. I didn't understand it at all, but I knew that I couldn't become more involved with you. I did my very best to stay as far from you as possible, and every day the perfume of your skin, your breath, your hair, it hit me as hard as that very first day. What is it with the breath? Connie, have you ever been attracted to anybody's breath?
No, opposite, actually. That's been a nail in the coffin.
Yeah. So, continuing, and for all that, I'd have fared better if I had exposed us all in that moment than if now here, with no witnesses and nothing stopping me, I were to hurt you. Bella asks why, and Edward continues his monologue. Isabella. Bella, I couldn't live with myself if I ever hurt you. You don't know how it's tortured me. The thought of you still, white, cold, to never see you blush scarlet again, to never see that flash of intuition in your eyes when you see through my pretenses. It
You
would
see
have
through my bullshit.
it would have been unendurable. You are the most important thing to me now, the most important thing to me ever. End quote.
But he was. It's,
I know.
ah.
And this is why I had to keep in so many quotes. Because how could I summarize that? You can't.
Yeah. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot, but it's not formulated into words, so.
It's just a jumbled mess. Yeah.
Whew.
So, like Connie, Bella's head was spinning. And she admits he already knows how she feels. She is here, which means that she would rather die than stay away from him. She calls herself an idiot. Edward and I, and probably Connie, agree.
Yeah. Emphatically, yes.
Edward muttered that the lion fell in love with the lamb.
Ah, the iconic line.
Mm-hmm. Bella asks why he ran from her before. She wants to know what exactly she did wrong. Edward says she didn't do anything wrong. It was him. He was so used to humans shying away from them. It is instinctual for humans to do so. So he was not expecting her to get close like that, and the smell of her throat surprised him. He placed his hands on the side of Bella's neck. Bella was still and felt that the chill of his touch was a warning. It had waning. I'm like, that's not.
So,
I actually put waning.
wait, hold up. He was like, Hakachika? Like this?
He places his hand on the side of Bella's neck.
Oh, I thought it
One
was
hand.
hands.
Not yet. I don't think we have both hands on her neck yet. Just one. So Bella was still and felt that the chills of his touch was a warning, but there was no feeling of fear, but other feelings. Bella's heart raced. Edward compliments the blush on her cheeks, and his other hand brushed her cheek.
Again, with the face touching. Acne. We're 17 here, folks. We're teenagers. Don't touch each other's face. Don't touch your face.
One of them is a teenager.
Fine. You still have oil on your skin, don't you?
I don't know if he does.
Don't touch her face.
He then holds her face and whispers to be very still. He slowly moves, leaning toward Bella, and rests his cold cheek against the hollow at the base of her throat. Which is awkward. How do you even do that? I don't.
You got to take your hand down, and then also you're going to like contour. I don't know. Almost tweaked my neck doing that. Shit, I'm old.
So they sat like this for wait, no. His hands moved to her shoulders, and then he moved his face to her chest. They sat like this for a while before Edward too soon released Bella. Edward tells her that it won't be so hard again. It wasn't nearly as bad as he thought it would be. Edward takes Bella's hands and asks if she can feel how warm his cheeks are. His cheeks were almost warm, but touching his face was something Bella dreamed of since she first laid eyes on him.
Okay.
Bella tells Edward to not move. He closed his eyes, and Bella began to carefully and slowly move while she stroked his face. Edward opens his eyes and says he wishes that she could feel the complexity and confusion he feels in a way that she can understand. Bella prompts him to try. Quote, I don't think I can. I've told you, on the one hand, the hunger, the thirst, that deplorable creature that I am. I feel for you. And I think you can understand that to an extent. Though, as you are not addicted to any illegal substances, you probably can't empathize completely. But there are other hungers I don't even understand, that are foreign to me. Bella says she may understand that better than he thinks.
Stephanie, your Mormonism's coming out.
Uh-huh. Edward isn't used to feeling so human. Is that normal? Bella says for her it's not. Never before this, at least. Edward admits that he doesn't know how to be close to her and doesn't know if he can. Bella leans forward slowly and places her cheek against his chest. She hears his breathing, but nothing else, and says this is enough. Edward puts his arms around her and presses his face to her hair.
Are they laying or standing at this point? Sitting?
I think they're sitting.
That's got to be so uncomfortable.
I know. Author, doesn't come back to what they are doing. It's a lot of back and forth talking, and that is it.
So you kind of have to imagine, got it.
Yeah, there's not much. So they were sitting, and then there was a bunch of monologues, and then they got into talking, and there was no like getting back to are you still sitting? But they've been moving around, but I don't know if they're sitting, standing, laying, nothing.
If she's on his, they must be laying down. I don't know. Is it super huge? No. But like, I'm still just trying to figure it out because that's who I am.
Yeah, I don't know. Take a pick. Whatever you want. It can literally be whatever you want. You fill in the blanks. So Bella says that he is better at this than he thinks, and Edward says he has human instincts deep down. They sat for a while, and Bella realized it was getting dark. Edward says she has to go, but is excited to show her something. How fast he travels through the forest. Bella gets slung onto Edward's back with very little effort on her part. She clamps her arms and legs so tightly that it would choke a normal person, but it was like clinging to stone. Bella warns him that she is a little heavier than a normal backpack. Edward snorts, and Bella could almost hear him roll his eyes. She had never seen him in such high spirits. He startled me. Quote, he startled me, suddenly grabbing my hand, pressing my palm to his face, and inhaling deeply. Easier all the time, he muttered. End quote. You're welcome, Connie. Some of these quotes are literally just for Connie's reactions.
What?
So Edward then began to run. Bella was too terrified to close her eyes and describes this feeling to if she were to stick her head out of an airplane window mid-flight.
Girl, you gonna have bugs in your eyeballs. Shut your eyes.
I think she did. Oh, we're getting there. They reached the truck in minutes. Oh, maybe we don't get there. Edward excitedly says, exciting, isn't it? But Bella was locked in place and needed to lay down, but needed help to do so.
I mean, I don't blame the girl. If I was all of a sudden wrapped up on the back with Johnny's back and he's like, no, my speed, I would also be like, give me a second.
Yeah, I think I probably would have fainted. Which she gets a little faint. Edward gives her a quiet laugh and then starts to move her. She feels dizzy, and Edward decides that that may not have been the best idea.
No shit. Like, no. Really? Okay.
But Bella, in a weak but positive voice, objects because it was interesting. Edward laughs and points out that she is just as white as a ghost. No, she was as white as him.
Okay.
Bella decided that she should have closed her eyes, and Edward tells her to remember that for next time. Edward tells Bella to open her eyes. Quote, I was thinking while I was running. He paused. About not hitting trees, I hope. That came from Bella.
I do appreciate that part.
Silly Bella, he chuckled. Running is second nature to me. It's not something that I have to think about. Show off, Bella muttered again. He smiled. No. He continued, I was thinking there was something I wanted to try. He took my face in his hands again. I couldn't breathe. He hesitated. Not in the normal way, the human way. Not in the way a man might hesitate before he kisses a woman to gauge her reaction, to see how he would be received. Perhaps he would hesitate to prolong the moment, that ideal moment of anticipation, sometimes better than the kiss itself.
Oh, that's totally a woman thing to write anyway.
It is. Edward hesitated to test himself, to see if this was safe, to make sure he was still in control of his need. And when his cold marble lips pressed softly against mine, what neither of us was prepared for was my response.
Oh, I remember this.
End
God
quote.
damn it.
Bella immediately feels him turn unresponsive, and his hands gently, but with force, push her face back. Bella opens her eyes to see a guarded expression on Edward's face. Bella tries to disengage herself and give him room, but Edward asks to wait for a moment. It's tolerable. Bella watched his excited eyes fade back to gentle. Bella asks, tolerable? Edward laughs and says it's nice to know he's stronger than he thinks. Bella apologizes because she wasn't.
Yeah, she basically like threw herself at Edward in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like hands forward. Like, yeah.
I did not go into detail. You can go and read that yourself, but like hands in hair and like just she went for it.
Girl's like, I might die. Fuck it.
So Edward reminds her that she is human after all. Edward helps Bella stand up and notices her balance is off. Quote, are you still faint from the run, or was it my kissing expertise? End quote. I think the best part of this series is me saying quotes and watching your face. So if you're not watching, you are missing out on so much because Connie has the best facial expressions.
I say a lot with my face. Sometimes I mean to, sometimes I don't.
Yeah. Which was it, Connie? Bella says it may be both. Edward tries to tell Bella that he should drive. Bella argues with him and says not a chance. She tries to step around him, and there's a chance that he may have let her if she didn't wobble in doing so. Quote, his arm created an inescapable snare around my waist. Bella, I've already expended a great deal of personal effort at this point to keep you alive. I'm not about to let you behind the wheel of a vehicle when you can't even walk straight. Besides, friends don't let friends drive drunk. End quote.
I do appreciate that.
I like that quote and then this one coming up. So Bella objects and Edward responds, quote, you're intoxicated by my very presence.
Oh
End
my
quote.
God. Okay. that is, I will take it as the funny, because that totally sounds like something my husband and I would say to each other, just as like a pure joke.
I can see that though.
Oh yeah,
I can so see that.
100%.
They have a very playful relationship.
We do.
Yeah.
We totally do.
So Bella sighs and hands him the key, saying, "Take it easy, as my truck is a senior citizen." She then asks if he isn't affected by her presence at all. He doesn't answer at first, but he bent his face to her and brushed his lips slowly from her ear to chin. Bella trembles. Regardless, oh, quote, regardless, he finally murmured, "I have better reflexes." End quote, and end of chapter 13.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Earlobe to chin? Really? Really?
It's a little goofy.
It's a lot of goofy.
There's a lot of questionable things that I'm just, yeah,
Although I will say, as we mentioned when we were doing the quick scan of this, which we don't normally quick scan chapters
no.
beforehand. It was literally just, again, trying to figure out the copywriting on this.
Yeah, because it's literally, if you go and read this chapter, it is
all dialogue, no action.
Yeah. I'd say, and 90% of the dialogue comes from Edward.
Yep.
And there's nothing in between. So,
yep. It's a little hard to summarize. But when we were scanning it, we were talking about like, okay, this is feeling like intro to smut.
yes, honestly.
Like, this is teetering a little bit beyond maybe what you're going to find in like your normal young adult novel. There we go.
Yeah.
I don't know what my English was trying to do there. It seems a little bit more.
It's you got a little more action, a little more details, and there have been several times where I'm like actively reading it, and then I text you, and I'm like, either I have read too many like spicy books, or something's going on here, and then I send it to you, and
Yep.
she's like, "No, nope, I'm right there with you."
Yep. Oh, I know. There's been a couple times where you're like, "Am I crazy, or does this seem spicy?" I'm like, "No, it seems spicy."
So my head's not in the gutter. She just brought us to the gutter.
Yeah. Granted, if you're looking for confirmation that your head wasn't in the gutter, I am not the one to give you that, because I pretty much live in the gutter.
Yeah. Well, same.
But correction,
yeah.
I don't live there, but my brain goes there.
Brain goes there fast, yeah.
Very fast. It's frequent spot in my brain's GPS.
Yes. Well, any final thoughts on chapter 13?
Plenty, but they mostly consist of WTF.
Yeah. Well, we are finally starting to get to more interesting parts of this book. It's starting to pick up. We're actually learning a lot more of the reasons behind Edward being such a dick, not excusing any of that. You still did it.
Mm-hmm.
Next chapter gets even more faster, picks up. So yeah, that is all I have for chapter 13. Real quick here, make sure that you are following us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Chaos Chronicles Podcast, and that's Chronicles with an S, to make sure that you stay update with our episodes coming out. We post every Wednesday and Saturday. Saturdays are our Twilight days, or whatever book we have going on at the moment. And then Wednesdays are our weird, morbid, sometimes
Weird
morbid.
Wednesdays.
Weird Wednesdays. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure that you're following us on all social medias, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think, or if you have anything that you would like us to talk about.
Yeah, just let us know your reaction to today's chapter. Was it in my boat, or are you thinking, Connie, you're being much too harsh? This was a wonderful and pure engagement.
Yeah. And if you're upset by us hating on Edward, I'm kind of sorry, but also not really, because he's a dick.
If I had the vocal skills to sing the sorry, not sorry, I would do that. I do not, so.
Can't even make it up to that first note.
Could I make it? Yes. Would it sound good? No, no, no.
Insert Demi Lovato voice here. Yeah, but anywho, so we will see you next week, either Wednesday or Saturday. Until then,
Yeah. Adios.
bye.